Hey guys, and welcome to Functional Print Friday. So we're in here in my daughter's bedroom. This is her dresser. It is an Ikea Hemnes dresser. I'll put it up on the screen.
Hemnes.
Anyway, my wife says to me this week, hey, can you think of any way that we can label these drawers for her so she knows where to put her stuff away in and, how to more easily find the stuff? And of course I said yes. And, already thinking of a couple different ways that we can do this with the functional print, particularly with the multicolor capabilities of the Bamboo P1S or X1C. So let's get started. I think the first thing we need to do is see how much room we have to work with on these drawers, get some measurements, and just, kind of think about the different ways that we could do this. Let me bring you over closer. Okay, so if we look at the front of one of these drawers, there's a couple things that I can immediately think of. We have this knob here. We could potentially, and these screw on. I think there's a screw on the other side. Yeah, there's a screw in here. So we could have something that essentially mounts at the knob. The downside of that is for the larger double drawers, then it's not going to be centered, or it's not going to be possible to center it. It's also probably going to be really hard to keep it straight, because whether we go above or to the side or below, I think it's going to have a tendency to get knocked and potentially either scratch up the drawer face or potentially even mark it up. These are, while these are solid wood, it's a fairly soft wood and you can definitely damage it. We also have the top of the drawer. We could potentially work with that. The only concern I have is they're not consistent. If you look at that one, we got a pretty decent sized gap there, but then you look at this one, and while there's definitely still a gap there, that gap is definitely smaller. So it doesn't give us a lot of room to work with, but I think that might be our best bet, is to do something from the top of the drawer. Let me get a calipers, let's get some measurements. Okay, that one's 13.85. Let's check another one. 13.86. That one is just a hair over 14. So I think we could call these 14 millimeters thick. And I've never given it that much thought, but my wife has the same dresser, and I swear the boards on hers are thicker. This one we bought within the last year. The other one's probably 10 years old. I want to go compare. Let's go measure one of those. Yeah, so interestingly, this one is 17.83, so probably 18 millimeters nominal. My guess is this is probably just shrunk a little bit as it's dried out, but this is 4 millimeters thicker than the newer one, and it's the same model number. It's the same model number dresser, it's just a different color. So I always put the STLs for all my designs for free, available on my website, fpfdesigns.com. So if you go looking for the STL for this, make sure you measure your drawers first. I'll have two versions, one for the 18 millimeter thick drawers and one for the 14 millimeter thick drawers. And if for some reason your drawers are a different thickness, or you want to use this on a different dresser, it'll be really easy to modify that. Okay, so my thinking for the design for this is that we have a piece that's visible from the front. Okay, so our tag is going to be up here on the front that says what's in the drawer. But rather than drilling any holes or doing anything that would cause any damage to this or mark this up in any fashion, we have basically like a plate on the front, a piece of it that wraps over the top of the drawer, and then comes and hooks down on the inside. Now, like I mentioned before, my concern there is we don't have a ton of space to work with. This is probably the tightest drawer. I could measure that with a feeler gauge, but my guess is it's probably about 1.5 millimeters. And up here, it is much larger. That's probably, actually it's probably about 3 millimeters, maybe even a little bit more. And most of the drawers have that wider gap, but I would like this to be like kind of a universal fit, that if you have one of these IKEA dressers, it should work for you. So let me go see what I can whip up. All right, guys, and here is what I came up with for the design on this. And if you weren't already picturing what this was going to look like just based on my design thoughts, when I was looking at the top of the drawer, hopefully you can imagine how this is going to work now. This is just basically going to snap over the top of the drawer. And I say snap over because I designed this to be, a little bit thinner here in this section between our clip on the back and the front than the actual depth of that drawer. So the drawer was 14 millimeters thick, and this is just under 13.5 millimeters here clearance. So What's going to happen is this is going to spring out, probably in this section here, or maybe up here. I'm hoping it sort of springs in this area here so that it clears that drawer. And, you know, not by much. I mean, 0.5 millimeter should give us a snug fit, you know, without causing this guy to flex so much that we are breaking things either here or back here as we clip this over. I kept the top pretty thin. This is 1.5 millimeters. I'm pretty sure we have 1.5 millimeters clearance on the top of all the drawers, but I'm not 100% certain. And I'm afraid if we go any thinner, it's just not going to hold up. Particularly when you consider that we're going to have supports in this section down here when this guy prints, because this has to be the face against the bed, the face that says stuffs and things here, because I have found that I get the best text or the cleanest look if I print this, print the text and the contrasting surface right down against the PEI bed on the Bamboo P1S or X1C. So this border here will be a contrasting color and the text will be a contrasting color from the main body. And you could do the border in a different color. I'm probably going to go with the same color for the border as I did for the text. In fact, what I'm thinking is probably, here, let's try out some colors here. So I'm thinking probably black for the main body, just a black PLA. And I think white is actually going to be too much of a contrast. I'm thinking probably like a light gray or a silver for, yeah, maybe a little bit darker. Let's see here. Yeah, probably like a silver like that. Maybe a little bit lighter for the border and for the text. So I think all that is left to do is to print one of these out and see what works and what doesn't. All right, and our first test piece is complete, and I'm super happy with how the text came out on this. This has kind of been my go-to lately, is this just like a black PLA. With this is not white, this is actually like a gray color in here, or a gray or a silver, and you sort of get that shininess from the PEI textured bed, and it just looks so sharp. So, came out pretty clean. You can see looking down across there's a little bit of leftovers where the support stuck to, but let's give it a go. It's a little snug. Oh, so that is, yeah, that one is just hitting. It works, but it's just hitting. Love the look though. Let me bring you down closer. Okay, so I'm out of opinion, but I love the look. I think it actually goes really well with the white dresser. I'd probably go with a different color if I made ones for my wife's dresser, which is already sort of this dark color. Maybe I just reverse the colors. Maybe do the gray with the lettering and outline in black. But you can see we are, you hear that? It's hitting, which means we're probably not going to work on this drawer down here at all. Let's see. Yeah, that's not going to work. So what I think we can do is maybe just thin out that top section. And I know it looks really thin already, and it is. I think if I recall, we made that 1.5 millimeters. And that didn't print super clean there either. I may change up the supports. I did tree supports for this one, and that might not have been the right choice. I think we're going to get a smoother surface on the underside if we do just regular plain old supports. I'm just worried if we thin this out anymore, I'm worried about potentially it breaking off even when we just remove the supports. So, all right, let me thin that out and let's give it a try. All right, here's our updated piece, and you can see how thin that is now at the top. That is only 1 millimeter thick, but it's quite strong. I mean, I'm able to bend it. I don't hear any cracking, and this is nothing special. This is plain old cheap PLA for like 15 bucks a roll. I think this is the Sunloose stuff. I'll link this down below. This is not PLA Plus or anything special. It is just dirt cheap black PLA, and it's coming out really nice. So let's try it out. Yeah, it definitely fits better at the top. I did switch to regular supports, which I think just, yeah, we got a nicer surface finish there. So this guy is just, it's better fit. Okay, so that's not hitting, but that's not the one we were tight on. That was this one. Yeah, that's, it goes. It's hitting worse than our top one was before. Once it's closed, it clears. It's like, it's just this back edge here. Yeah, from this angle you can see what's going on. Because this is acting like a spring to lock in, this is slightly pushing out, which is pushing this edge up in the back. And it's working perfectly as a spring to hold this guy on. It snaps right on. It's that little bit that we're pushing up in the back is now causing us to hit when we try and close this. So I think if we just relieve that back edge just a little bit, we'll be good. All right, couple seconds for you, an hour for me, and you can see we made the adjustment of just knocking off that back edge. I can't really take any more than that off because otherwise we're thinning out that hinged area and I think it's just going to snap off. Let's give it a go. So we know we cleared up here. This is more just a test to make sure it still fits good. And we have all the clearance in the world on that one. But this is our problem child drawer here. Oh, look at that. Perfect. Yeah, just relieving that rear edge buys us plenty of room now. And from the front, it's going to look like we have even room to spare, like we could thicken that guy up. But I know that we can't because it's slightly raising in the back as it springs in place. So let's check every other drawer, just make sure it is good. All right, well that took 3 tries to get to a design that was a good fit for all the drawers, but I'm happy with it. So let me talk to my wife, figure out what all these actually need to say, and let's get them made up. All right, guys, I wanted to give you a look in Bamboo Studio here before I print these out. So my wife sent me the list of what these guys are supposed to read, and I have already done all the design work on these, and I managed to get all 8 that I need on the bed here in one shot, as well as the purge block. The auto arrange didn't want to do it, but I can easily manually position all 8 of these to fit with the purge block on here. So there's a couple different ways to put the text on these, and I wouldn't say there's a right or wrong way to do it. If you go to my site, fpfdesigns.com, I will have the STLs for all of these available, as well as just a blank one for you to go and fill in. And you can either use your own CAD software of choice to do that, or you can do it right in Bamboo Studio. I chose to model them because I like the configurability that I get with placing text in CAD versus trying to do it here in Bamboo Studio. You can only really do one line at a time. It doesn't give you as many options to line it up with other features on the part. I just, it's personal preference. All right, here this is sliced, and for color scheme, I have line type selected so we can clearly see and differentiate between what's the print and what is the supports. And the green parts here are the supports. And you can see it does a pretty good job coming in here and layering supports on top of the back of our part and giving us an interface layer where that clip is up at the top. And I had no issues separating it for the test piece, so I'm gonna roll the dice and try and do all 8 of these in one shot and see what happens. So let's hit print and I'll bring you guys back. Okay, so here's all 8, and they all printed fine with the exception of socks. This is actually a reprint of socks. This one, yeah, this is the one that's good. The first one, I think maybe the support came loose because you can see here this section is like elongated and it is misformed if we look down the length of it. It would probably work like this, but it's not right and there's no reason not to fix it. So, but I mean, all things considered, I think it's impressive that we kicked out 7 of these plus the 3 test pieces with no issues at all and had only a single failure, given how wide we are back here. I mean, this would have been a struggle on my Prusa Mark III S. For whatever reason, I don't know if, and maybe with slicer settings, but I would struggle with really thin sections like this. Remember, this is only 1 millimeter thick, and not only did it complete, but it's super strong. Like I'm flexing this no problem. We can flex this all the way back out to where, actually, you know what? Let's take this one that failed and see how far we flex it before it snaps. Yep, so it did break back here, at probably where it's thinnest, but that held up to a fair amount of force. I actually wasn't sure if I'd be able to push hard enough on it to get it to snap off without giving myself some leverage by sort of hinging on the other side of my finger. So, yeah, I think these are pretty strong. Well, guys, it is done, and I am really happy with the look of this. Not only am I happy with the form and the function of it, but just the overall design appearance on the dresser. I actually think it looks really classy. I don't think it takes away from the appearance of the dresser at all. I actually think it adds to it. But most importantly, since this is my daughter's room and my wife is the one that asked me to solve this problem, I asked what they thought, and they both absolutely love it. So if you guys like this as well and are interested in making these, just like all of the designs on this channel, I give away the STLs completely for free. You can get them on my site, fpfdesigns.com. That is linked down in the description of this video, and I will also put it up here on the screen in case you guys want to just type it in. So you'll be able to get the STLs for this, and there'll be a couple different options. I'll put the actual STLs for all the ones that are up here on her dresser. If you just want to use these same tags, they'll be all set and ready to go. And don't forget, when you are looking at the STLs, there's going to be two versions of the main body part. One for the 14 millimeter thick drawers, which is what the newer style Ikea furniture is, and one for the 18 millimeter thick fronts, which is the older style Ikea furniture. Guys, as always, thanks for tuning in for this week's video and hanging out with me here while we solved this. If this happens to be your first time on the channel, I do a new video like this, we solve a problem like this, or do some sort of functional print every single Friday. If you liked this video, if you enjoyed this, do me a favor, take a second, hit that like button. Really helps out the channel. And if you want to see more videos from me, if you like functional prints, you want, new free stuff to make every single Friday, hit that subscribe button. And guys, if you do, I'll see you next Friday.